The following is a presentation of the Eagles Sports Network.
All right, Mike Clowney, homecoming. Still a shot for a winning season, and you welcome in the Emory and Henry Wasps. Start us off with a statement about this weekend and taking on Emory and Henry in Jeff City for the first time since 1975.
Well, I mean, it's, homecoming wise, I mean, it's just going to be fun to see everybody here. I think we'll have a good crowd here. I know I've talked to a lot of people that plan on coming and showing up, and so, as a coach, you don't get to spend as much time with them as you like to. But I just look forward to seeing and being able to talk to a lot of different people here this weekend. Transitioning from the family part of it to the football part of it. That's where you've always talked about, the big thing about homecoming is trying to find a way to win the football game. Emory Henry's got a really good football team. They've done really well this year, competitive across the board. I think they're at 500 right now. So it'll be a good football game, be a good challenge. I think the key for us are the things that we talked about, really, all last week coming up into this week is, us controlling our own performance, showing up, prepared, ready to work, and owning the field when we get here.
The thing that sticks out to you about Emory and Henry is, one, they're still reclassifying to Division II, so they aren't in the national rankings for anything, but geez Louise, defensively. 21 turnovers forced. If they were in the national rankings, they'd be second in the country. What do they do to create so much chaos on defense coming off of a 7-turnover game against Tuskal?
Number one, they run to the football. Like they've got a good plan. They take chances, defensively. I think they do a good job of that. That's where you talk about their transition. They've brought in a bunch of transfer guys that, are played at bigger schools. And, I think that's given them a chance to be, competitive pretty quick at this level. And so, it'll be a good challenge. We got to make sure we do a good job of just hold on to the football.
Kurt Newsom, head coach, he's an Emory and Henry alum. You're a Carson-Newman alum. You're the only two alums coaching within the South Atlantic Conference. How special is it to go against somebody who matriculated through the school that you play against as an alum of Carson-Newman? That's
one thing I think that was interesting, talking to him before the game last year, being able to have that conversation about, his tenure as a student and athlete there, and then coming back and, really almost kind of like, retiring there, in this job, and just talking about like, how much it meant to him to be back at the place that he played. And I know that's something that's special for me, to be at a place that you love and care about. It brings a little different element, I think, to, what you do every day.
Internally, you've started to generate a bit of a pass rush the past 3 weeks. 3 straight weeks of 5 sacks. You have a sack in every game this season. Last time that happened was 2019. 5 sacks in 3 straight weeks hasn't happened as long as we've had digital records that track sacks week by week. How has this development come about against pretty good teams with good quarterbacks and good lines?
Number one up front, I think Coach James has done a really good job with our defensive line. Coach Ashley, helping him, and then, it kind of builds into like this whole thing from a unit standpoint. But like those guys they come here, they've stayed here, and now they're kind of starting to reap some of the reward of the things that they've learned the past couple of years. And then the other part of it that we've talked about is, I do think we have some really good players on the back end and the secondary, which will buy them a little bit additional time to be able to get there. So the thing that we'll challenge them to do again is get off the ball fast and challenge the guys cover to give us an opportunity to get quarterback on the ground.
How much of that, too, comes with the move of you've shuffled your defensive line. David Alexander, I think, is playing his 3rd position, but has settled in at that end role. Corey Long has played his 3rd position and settled in at Fox. So how has that helped impact and sway things?
It's wild. We talk about it every week from an offensive line standpoint, just because you can see the effect that they have, on your quarterback and your running backs. And we've basically kind of done the same thing, defensive line-wise. We have 1 or 2 guys that are injured, another guy that's just out right now. And, those guys have that family mentality, like they jump in and fill in where needed. I think it comes back to some coaching, too, to where coaches, defensively, I think they do a good job of coaching the entire scheme as opposed to just a position, so that when we do have to move guys around, they have a little bit better concept. It's like last week moving Major to like that nickel spot for 2 weeks. Kendall's played in there. And so, like, I think the way that those guys have approached the coaching part of it, teaching those guys the entire defense and how things fit together gives us a better feel for being able to do that. I think Makai probably played mostly inside last week. And so it's fun watching that part of it happen for those guys defensively.
I think any football team wants to grow week in, week out. And while the results haven't come on the scoreboard, it's clear that this team is growing. How do you translate that growth to results on the scoreboard?
That's what we talked about yesterday. I showed them the clip from the Mike Clowney show where we talked about, what those steps and stages look like. And at the end of the day, it comes from, it's from the shoulders up. It's a mindset. It's the way that you think. From a talent standpoint, I think we got guys that are good enough to win every football game we play. And I think, we've been all in all of them but two and shown that, we had that ability to be competitive. We just did a devotion about, closing the door versus just being close. And so it's time for us to close the door.
Emory and Henry might be challenging Carson-Newman for most injuries that a team has had to battle through this season. Feels like they've had to use a different quarterback each and every week. Charles Mutter, who had been hurt, was back and played against Tusculum on Saturday. What sticks out to you about his skill set? Him, Kyle Short, anybody else that they trot out there under center?
I think they're all really good. I think the thing with him is you could just see like his level of understanding of what they're doing. They do a lot of RPO stuff to where he's kind of reading stuff on the run. And, he's able to do that late and make good decisions with the football.
You bring up the RPO. Have you seen anything close to what Emory and Henry does this season?
No, not really. No, not the way that they do it. They hang it in there so long that they try to force you to make a decision. And, we have to make sure that we know what to do so that we don't have any indecision on what we're doing.
The reigning defensive player of the week is Can, one of Emory and Henry's DBs. Not too often that a DB makes 18 tackles in a game. What's he doing to put himself in position to make that many plays week in, week out?
Yeah, he plays fearless. He just runs. He runs to the football, and that's why I tell our kids all the time: if you run to the ball every play, you'll wind up, at the end of the game looking at the stat sheet, feeling pretty comfortable about it.
Tyree Nelson coming off the first 100-yard rushing performance of the year. It feels like your running backs. Somebody does something really good each week, but it's not the same guy. Do you take that? Would you rather it be, somebody's going to rush for 100 yards every week, or you have a different 100-yard rusher every week? What's it take to develop some consistency?
As the coach, I'd like to know today who that guy's going to be and what it's going to look like to make decisions. But, the thing that group's been able to do is where you talk about being competitive, and it's just interesting each week to figure out, like, which one kind of carries the mantle for us.
Anything else?
That's all I have.